Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Caribbean Business Podcast, brought to you by Assuage Business Development Limited. I am your host, Rawle Rollocks, Director Business Development and Sales at Assuage Business Development Limited. And it's been so great having you. Assuage is passionate about helping SMEs penetrate local and regional markets. To those of you, maybe you're tuning in, listening in to for the first time, you're viewing in the program for the first time, you can listen in from LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. And also we've joined Spotify, so you can listen in there as well. We are happy that you've joined us, and we always look forward to a very interactive and informative discussion. The Caribbean Business Podcast seeks to provide a regular forum for the discussion of issues pertinent to regional trade, and we help SMEs identify specific opportunities for exporting services intra-regionally and beyond. Today and every first and third Tuesday, we host key players in the export trade sector and SMEs across the region who will share their experience and their expertise to help us navigate this world of business expansion through exports. Tonight, we put the spotlight on doing business in Barbados. Among its many accolades, Barbados has been placed in the spotlight in recent times due to the impact and notoriety of two of its foremost ambassadors operating in maybe one would say separate spheres, as it would seem, namely the entertainer and businesswoman Rihanna, and of course, Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley. Of course, we will learn today that there's so much more to a name. The United Nations Human Development Index ranked Barbados in the highest bracket, very high human development, well above many of its compatriots within the Caribbean and Latin America. In October 2021, Sandra Mason was elected by Parliament to become the nation's first president. She then replaced Queen Elizabeth as head of state, with Barbados transitioning into becoming a republic within the Commonwealth of Nations. On the economic front, the Central Bank of Barbados, in its 2022 outlook, anticipates that economic activity will accelerate, aided by boosting tourist arrivals. In addition, the bank is encouraged that some of the delayed medium to large-scale tourism development projects will get underway in 2022. The timing of the commencements of these investments, along with the ongoing upgrades by government to infrastructure, we're talking here about roadworks, housing, and other small-scale private sector investments, should provide, of course, a further boost to revive economic activity. So, to help us explore some of the main opportunities for business investments and partnership in Barbados, we have two astute businessmen who are on a panel, Richard Blades and Rawle Rollocks. So let's hear a little bit more about them.
Rawle Rollocks, financing and investment coach. A former investment manager at Republic Funds Barbados Incorporated, Mr. Rawle Rollocks is a finance executive with over 15 years in the financial sector. He has a strong working knowledge of trade and the international business environment, with solid experience in asset management. Richard goes beyond the typical financing methods and investing planning and advice to help customers understand their risk tolerance, explore the range of options available for them, and select and implement innovative strategies to meet their financing and investment goals. Richard Blades has a sound expertise in entrepreneurship, being himself an entrepreneur. He has a firm grasp of the requirements of getting into business and staying in business, which he candidly shares. He is the founding partner of Blades and Blades Consultancy Services. He's also director of the Caribbean Virtual Hospitality Institute. Richard Blades have been training the workforce since 1990. He worked with teams in various sectors, including commission sales and marketing teams, hospitality organizations, the transportation, health and wellness, medical and dental, as well as cultural industries, as well as not-for-profits. Around the Caribbean, he's known as Richie B.
So, gentlemen, welcome. It's a pleasure. Nice having you.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
So we'll have to get some
Yes.
rules here because we're dealing with two Richard, right? So I know we already heard about Richie B. So maybe we'll have to go with Richie R. Or would we go with surnames? How do we move forward?
You can
Whatever is
say
more
you can say
comfortable
Richie
with you.
B, Richie B and Richard R. That's fair
Okay,
enough. I think
excellent.
we understand
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, Barbados is in the spotlight for this podcast, and we know that you gentlemen are but Caribbean men, right? So, if anyone listening in now would like to know a little bit more about Barbados, any key facts that you think that they should know, as well as where would there be the real growth areas or areas that businesses would want to partner with local businesses there or invest in Barbados? Where would those be? So maybe to start us off, Richie B, I could throw this in your court.
I was kind of here with me. You have the foreign direct investment sector, which
Yes.
is being pushed by the government. You also have agriculture, which is now being reformatted and being poised for growth. You have the SME sector, which is also taken off now too as well. And there are a number of ways to help them grow and thrive. The tourism sector, without which we probably would not have advanced as quickly as we have, because our tourism product is always constantly being upgraded. Then you have international business, and international business is, the international business sector has become very competitive over the years, and we've lost quite a bit of business to Singapore as a consequence of that.
Okay.
And yeah, so they put some other measures in place, which has made them a bit more attractive than what we were able to offer here. Uh,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Doing business in Barbados is now, with this government that is in, uh, they're trying to level the playing field to make it easier for people to come on into the sector, attract investment from outside, develop the local people so that they can also function not only in the local market, but now there's a drive where BIDC has now been rebranded to export Barbados, so that the emphasis is on exports, right?
Okay.
We
Okay.
also
Okay.
have headquartered here in Barbados Caribbean Export, and Caribbean Export serves the entire Caribbean, and they also have grant funding available for females. Is the one that comes to mind because that comes out every year. And that is something like 16,000 euro, if my memory serves me correctly, on an annual basis to help females in business gain some
Okay.
traction and be able to support
Hmm.
themselves.
Okay.
We also are targeting the I'm a mentor from its inception. That is out of the Prince's Trust out of the UK. And then there's a youth entrepreneurship scheme, which is set up in government through the Ministry of Youth, Culture and Sports. And again, I was a facilitator there up until just this is 2021 that I just left there, and so I can come away to do some other things on a larger scale.
Okay. And quite interesting.
Um,
I was thinking maybe you might have mentioned fishing, and I know we have this ongoing battle between Trinidad and Tobago as to who owns the flying fish. So I was waiting for you
well,
to talk. Maybe.
I put fishing for me when I said agriculture. It's not just
Okay.
what's happening on land, but it's also the aquaculture to what's happening in the water, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I
Yes.
use
Yes.
a broad thing because I'm acutely aware of the time. So I'm trying to
Yes.
use as broad headings as possible in order to keep everything in place.
Richard R., before I jump to you, you mentioned tourism, and one of the questions that I know may arise in some of the persons looking in terms of the tourism plant and where it is at the Barbados tourism plant. I take it from what you're saying, there still is opportunity for persons to be a part of this market, to invest, and there's still, for new entrants.
Yes, there. Right now, the market is such that we are in high demand right now. Coming out,
Mm,
there's been a lot of villas. There's been the Airbnb market that has really spiked and taken off. Um, you've also got the hotels, both the single hung and the double hung hotels. They're taking off too as well. Coming out from COVID, everyone wants to get out now and travel again, and
yes,
we
yes.
have the space. I always say jokingly, because I also too have a tourism background, and I say coming down the chain of Caribbean islands, Barbados is a gem where you can fly over, drive through, sail around, and dive under. Um, and that is something that makes Barbados memorable in the minds of the people.
Yes, 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 yes.
You
You know,
understand?
I raise it because I know of some of the
Yeah.
challenges that hotels and villas in Trinidad and Tobago in particular, the challenges, and certainly this
Hmm.
may be an opportunity to diversify. As you would know, Trinidad faces real challenges on the US foreign exchange issue. So maybe that's an opportunity
Yes.
for those who are maybe listening in and you own a hotel in the area of tourism. Barbados has something to offer. Richard R.
Yes.
Anything you care to add in terms of the opportunities that you're aware of right now for business investment?
Right. Well, I think Richie B give a very good and strong overall of what's happening on the ground here in Barbados. What I can add, however, or in addition to what he was sharing with us, there is opportunity for from the financial side too for some fintechs, right? Especially as Barbados tries, and there's always a saying that Barbados, by our esteemed Prime Minister, that Barbados is an economy that punches above its weight, right? That
Correct.
um, as we get ready, as Barbados gets ready to compete on the global stage, obviously, along with government, along with the structures, you also need um, very, very smart solutions to assist the country in doing this. So we're talking about fintechs that can assist in things like money transfer, even accounting, and there's several other different areas which would help businesses complete, right, on a global playing field, on a level playing field.
That's interesting because I do get the sense, and this would be important for any of those software developers, those persons who are into this area across the region, that Barbados has done a good job at incentivizing IT development. There was some talk at one time that you can also access cryptocurrency um, through ATMs in Barbados. Is that true? Is that still valid?
Well, Barbados, there is a company here called Bit,
Not,
right?
not
And sorry,
right.
and
No, I'm
through
just agreeing
Bit,
with you.
yeah, through Bit had extended its platform to I think they had the name of it was money
And money. And
M
money.
Money, the M
Yeah.
Money product. So they had rolled out this M Money product, and they were onboarding several stores and businesses to get on board. Like, I really can't tell you how what's the latest with that product, but I know they had started in that direction, trying to onboard companies, trying to get people to use digital wallets and other alternatives to had fiat currency.
Are you any of you gentlemen aware whether that the central bank has made any specific pronouncement on the whole area of digital currency? Is this something that maybe the central bank is looking at now, or has any public statements been made?
Yes, the central bank um, made comments about it, but more so our prime minister. Our prime minister, she's really the one who's been championing um, a diversification, if you want to say, more so than a shift uh, towards digital currency. And they have been on the ground level. There have been conversations between the financial institutions and these fintechs, but I think that it's a long way down the pipeline. I can definitely say Barbados definitely does not want to be left behind. where that is concerned, because
Yes.
obviously it's a lot of conversations, a lot of discussion. Obviously, economy that we're running on paper currency for since independence, right?
Yes.
It will be a challenge. However, the conversations have started. Some people, for the most part, seem to be receptive, especially when you see, some of there's some glaring advantages to it, but exactly how the system works all together with the banks, and then you have to. There were also conversations with I think the Financial Services Commission. So there are different, I would say, regulatory levels that need to be ironed out before I guess they come forward with something to the public.
Yes. Yes.
But there are conversations happening on that
Well,
level.
what we do know of your prime minister, if there's going to be a country that would be first out the gate, expect Prime Minister Motley to jump on that opportunity. I've heard some central banks across the world talking about having their currency to the point where it's programmable, so they can determine what you buy and what you don't buy. So some interesting times ahead. And to address maybe a little elephant in the room, when it comes to opportunities, I think in Trinidad and Tobago in particular, businessmen here are very much aware of opportunities in Barbados. And I know in some time past that has probably not gone down too well with as we say in local parlance, Bajans. How is the climate in terms of being open to welcome uh, businesses from other countries and so forth? Would you say are Bajans, as we say it, ready for this?
Regardless of whether or not they're ready, is going to happen. What has to happen now is that Barbadian business people need to become more aware of the business elements rather than just studying it at KFL to pass an exam. They now have to bring all of those things back out into the market, where they have got to move beyond trying to own businesses and learning how to control businesses in terms of diversifying the ownership, using stocks and bonds and other financial instruments in a creative way, so that then they can grow their businesses much faster. With all due respect to the
Yes.
banks, they cannot just rely upon debt financing. They also have to look at more equity financing,
Equity.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, the banks have been very, very helpful and have contributed significantly to the growth of businesses and private individuals over the years. But now, as things are becoming a bit more of a global platform, I think the banks now are becoming more sophisticated, where they're looking to see what are you putting into your businesses, so that they are not left there as a bank or a financial institution are not left with the full brunt and the full weight upon them. So people now
Okay.
who are getting into business, they you cannot just come and say, well, I know how to do a particular line of business, and that's all you need to know. You need to surround yourself and get a team of people
Yes.
who are going to help you grow and develop your business. And as you always heard, and it's going beyond the cliche stage now, where they always say money follows management. Uh, you have got to put controls in place. You've got standards when you're going into the whole operational aspect. So businesses need to become a bit more versed in what the operations are. They need to learn how to do things like cost control. It's no longer a case of financial accounting, but it's also another aspect that they have to pay attention to on the day-to-day running, which is managerial accounting. So they need to be
Yes.
well versed in both areas. And then,
Yes, sir.
hmm?
Yes, I'm getting from
and then
you this. Yeah, you go ahead, Richie B. Continue your thought.
yeah, and then then you have to have the marketing, and so then when because of the atmosphere being so dynamic right now, you're going to find that people need to be a bit more aware, not just reading the news and then coming to a meeting and saying, well, we saw this in the news, and operate from a standpoint of panic. You know have to get things going where you're finding people paying more attention to the business model canvases before they even go to a business plan, and so that then when they do go to the stage of a business plan, is better thought out, it's more practical, and it's not just that sort of pie in the sky, I have an idea kind of thing.
Yes, yes. Well, I like that because
Uh,
that will help us segue actually into a discussion we want to have on what is it like actually doing business in Barbados. So, but before we do that, we want to take a little break. We have some bills to pay, and we're gonna come right back to discuss this whole issue of doing business in Barbados and the things
okay.
that anyone who wants to do business should have to consider. All right.
Mhm.
So, just in about a minute, we will come back and continue the conversation.
All right.
Amplify your voice. Enhance your marketing communication with infomercials, podcast recorded presentations, and live streamed programs. To learn more, visit www.launchpadmedia.agency or call 1-868-272-1987. Amplify your voice with Launchpad Media.
Thank you very much to Launchpad Media. If you want to get your podcast on, your webinars on, do check Launchpad Media. They can help you do so. So thank you very much. So we in our last discussion, you had mentioned before we segue into doing business, you mentioned alternative forms of financing, you mentioned debt, you mentioned equity. Um, is there a space being created to encourage venture capitalism? Is that something that has taken off as well?
Yeah.
So before let me jump in, Richie
Mhm.
B, if you
All
don't
right.
mind.
No problem.
And I think I like how this conversation has developed because something was on my mind just before, um, and I know Richie could continue where I'm going to leave off. There are two things, there are two key events. I mean, there's one that is, I guess, global and international that everybody knew about. But there was a key event in 2018, 2019 by way of the Barbados debt restructuring, right? Um, Richie B made a point just now on the reliance or over reliance on debt financing, and um, more so than ever, the narrative, that narrative, was actually brought to the forefront when Barbados had to restructure its debt. So then you also had, on the heels of that, you had the COVID-19 pandemic, where the reliance on the sectors such as tourism and some other strong sectors that also saw a proliferation of, I mean, there's a saying that necessity is the mother of invention, and
Mhm.
there has been shifts, on coming out of those two events, that leads to that creation, that room, that space for venture capitalism and entrepreneurship. But I know Richie can speak on it as
Um,
well.
yeah, I can probably jump in here a little bit. One of the things that is another emerging area where the people are paying a lot more attention to is the area of intellectual property. Um, a couple years ago, I spearheaded a program for the National Cultural Foundation called Boya, which is Business of Your Art, and they had genre inside of their musicians, people from arts and craft background, drama, the entire range. And what happened is that we taught them all the business fundamentals all the way right through. And then when they got at the end, they had a sort of a short time where they present their businesses to actual funding houses. And, you had like some of those funding houses, like the plans that they saw coming out from these people so much that they actually put their money right there to assist these businesses to get up off the ground. So you're finding that it is not necessarily business as usual. People want you to come on in very well researched, very well thought out, and they're the people in the finance sector and everything like that are not just looking for traditional areas in what we would call the red ocean, but they're looking for the areas of innovation in the blue ocean where you don't have any competition. You're going out there and you're really pioneering in an area that's going to give you an advantage for some time to come. And these are the sorts of things that you're looking for in terms of opportunities. Do they have growth potential? Do they have export potential? Because we recognize, and you would have heard the Prime Minister say that we can't keep on just selling to locals, because you got to keep fresh money coming on into our economy all the time in order to turn things over. So you're going to find that you've had businesses like, for example, an entire classroom project turn into a business, like yellow meat bread fruit. You've had I've worked with a small business. They're in food and beverage. When I started with them, by the time I finished with them in less than a year, they were doing almost $40,000 a month, because you put things in place. Does that mean that they are profitable? Not yet. They haven't even broke even yet. They now are approaching break even, because as they plow the money back into the business keeps growing. So they have, I think that we have to get some people in the technical assistant fields into the mindset that because they might see a business making more money than what they're getting paid in salary, and I'm going to be very direct, because it doesn't mean that those people are making businesses, making the kind of money that they're can keep.
Yes, yes,
They're making
yes,
money that they can plow back in. They're making money for expansion, and all the money that they're making as a business is not theirs to keep. So they have to be quite disciplined in their approach is to it. And then they also, the other thing that needs to happen is that businesses need, and this is probably where Richard, your company could come on in, where you need to educate businesses how to make their money work for them, how to make their surplus cash work for them in terms of programs, and where people can park their money and have their money work for them 24/7, 365,
yes,
and make more money, so that then at the end of the day, when they're scouting opportunities, they can leverage some of their own funding, and it's not just coming cap in hand. I got this great idea. Can you help me? Right? They're
yes,
coming out from a
yes,
standpoint of strength, where it's like, we want the opportunity, we've got this much, but we need to leverage. And once we do that, then we expect that we can make these sorts of returns within this particular point in time. We've run the numbers, we've done our research, we've got the contacts, and we are well poised in order to guarantee within a margin of error, and they can even go as far as giving percentages how fast that they can make back the money, so that then
yes, yes,
it drives the confidence of the financial institutions that they're interacting with, so that in the final analysis, uh, when you have a finance, you're going to their superiors and saying this is a program that can work, it's happening right here. The financiers are comfortable with the fact that, yes, these people have done their due diligence.
yes, yes. I like the words of advice in terms of how businesses can position themselves for success in the marketplace. I wanted to jump back to an issue that I feel would be very pertinent before we wrap up this discussion. And there's been so much talk about investment in the green economy. And
Mhm.
Barbados seems to, from the outside, have put in something pretty innovative in terms of how it incentivizes investment in the solar industry. All right. Could either of you gentlemen talk a little bit about that? Because I understand that you can get support if you want to get into solar or you want to have solar installed. And this, I take it, can encourage this kind of a business.
Rich?
Right. So yeah. Part of the it's part of the Sustainable Development Initiative, right, under the UN's Global Compact. Barbados sought to achieve, well, achieve or advance towards becoming carbon neutral. I think it is by 2030 is the goal. You know, I can't tell you how far off or how close Barbados is at the moment, but one of the things that Barbados had the the government had embarked on, was um, opening the playing field for the photovoltaic, um, for having homeowners and companies access financing for photovoltaic panels on their roof, whereby and then enter into right now a buy all sell all, um, sell all rate with the power generation company of Barbados, Barbados Light and Power.
Okay,
Mhm.
quite
And
interesting. Yes.
I think right now it's I think there's something happening for the last a year and a half thereabout. But right now, the an individual or a company could enter into a buy or sell all arrangement with the Barbados Light and Power, for, I believe, is guaranteed for 20 years
Yeah.
thereabout. I think 20 years is the is really the tenor.
Oh, that's
So
tremendous.
what that means essentially in layman terms is that as an individual, you the power the solar, the energy that is generated from off your roof, if it's roof mounted, or you will see the ground mounted PV, on land slopes and different areas on the land, they can sell that, excess, right, back to the grid and be compensated for it based on I think it's a feed-in tariff rate, which is a rate that they would have arranged, a pre-arranged rate, and that is a rate. Of course, they would have, factored in or discounted for downtime and for periods whereby, for the optimal output of this solar energy. And what that means is that, remember, Barbados, Barbados as an economy, we import oil, so there's a cost and there's a drag on the foreign exchange. By doing this, it allows for, I guess, a cheaper servicing of that whole arrangement, whereby the power and the power company, right, Barbados Light and Power Company, has to provide power for Barbados. So, on the on the macro level, um, there is that opportunity now to get these systems installed on your roof or installed on the land
Wow.
and sell it back to the grid and enter into agreement with the power company for a period of 10 years at an agreed rate. So what it really did, it really established companies to have, cash flows, right?
Yes.
Over a period of time. And from these cash flows, obviously, it opens the door for leveraging those cash flows to do other things. And I'm talking about these cash flows after your say, for example, if you're a two member family, and your light bill probably might be, say, like $300 a month thereabout. If it is that you would put the PV on your roof, you would be able to to benefit from the excess, because what is
Yes.
happening is that you're going to be paid for that excess, um, energy that is being sold back to the grid.
Wow.
So
Wow. This
financial
is
institutions
tremendous. No doubt.
So financial institutions have been coming up with different types of loan products to facilitate individuals to purchase these solar panels, whether it be ground mount. You have the ground
Yes.
mounted solar panels, and then you have the roof mounted solar panels. And, a lot of individuals have been taking up this opportunity. I think as of June next month, the rate is going to drop, right? Whereby, because I think it was for a period of a year, it was supposed to be December, and then they extended it to June. So there may be some change in the rate, some dip in the rate. For some people, it was a very unique business venture, because they look at it as having a tenant on your roof, right, for the next 20 years. And
Yeah.
most of the loans that are being provided by the banks are probably 8, 9, 10-year loans, which means you still have free cash flow for at least 10 years after that. And these are the unique, ways in which, the government of Barbados have been trying to tackle two things at the same time.
I just saw a
Yes.
housing
It seems that
project.
we having a little connection issue.
Okay.
Yes. Richie, I take it you were saying that there was an extra tenant on the roof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I just,
it's like
yeah.
consider the extra tenant on your roof, because it doesn't take up space in your dwelling, under the curtilage of your home. It's on the
Right.
roof.
So I
And
see an offline submission here. Are there any specific areas that are hot right now for persons to get involved through export and investment in Barbados? Well, I know um, you all would have mentioned the tourism opportunities with the expansion of tourism plant. Um, there was some agriculture you all mentioned. This solar, I take it, and maybe Richie B, you could speak to this. I mean, with this kind of opportunity, this is certainly a hot opportunity for investment, because I can see maybe the potential for a lot of spin-offs and a multiply effect, because you're going to need solar installers, you're going to need solar retail suppliers, you're going to need people to repair, you're going to need consultants, you're going to need people to be educated, to train. I see quite a lot. Do you foresee this type of development taking place, or is it already
What's
happening?
It's already happening. What was taking place right now too? I was just going to say, just last week or week before, I saw a real estate project, and what they're doing is, it looks like they're doing 100% financing, but the terms and conditions are you must have your roof paneled, and the panels that they're putting on for the photovoltaic goes up. They go up to 20 years, and these panels last for like 25 years. So you're going to benefit from that sort of a opportunity. I can't remember the name of the project right now, but I think it's going to be taking place somewhere over in St. James, and that's a complete developmental thing, low housing. And I think, if I remember correctly, the payments on a monthly basis back, uh, for the funding is like $800 or something like that. Once you
Yes, yes.
on a monthly basis. So I mean, that's even cheaper than going
Yes.
renting someplace. Then we have
Okay.
the
Okay.
infrastructure in place with the buses, the the stations that are coming up for charging your vehicles are taking place all over the place. So I mean, there's a lot of scope. I know that there are some companies out there who are retraining their people to come away from not just that have an understanding of gas and diesel, but they also know and understand and appreciate and are competent in what is required to fix and service
Yes.
battery
Yes.
operated vehicles. So
Oh
you're gonna
yes.
find
Yes.
that
Yes.
happening.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean, so far we understand the tourism opportunities. We understand there's fintech opportunities to get involved in international business. There's this solar opportunity. But before we take, some of your last comments in terms of, when we how do we actually access these opportunities? What advice would you give to someone who's saying, yes, I want to get to the Barbados. I want to take advantage of some of these opportunities. Maybe some pointers that you'll give to them. But just before you do so, are there any other hot areas that you'd want to maybe share with the audience, maybe that we haven't covered yet, that
Yeah.
persons can do? Yeah.
One of the areas that I would say is within agriculture, and that's rearing rabbits. And the Europeans eat a lot of rabbit. And if and rabbits don't take long from the time that they're born until the time that you can cull them. They're even faster growing than chickens. So
Okay.
the Americans are now starting to adopt them a bit more into their diet. And
Okay.
here
And that
local,
certainly will impact the tourists and the tourism demand.
correct.
Oh, I see it.
And then
Yes.
what's happening here too is that even within the local situation, you put rabbits on the shelf inside the freezers, they're gone like really really fast. They don't stay in there
Okay.
for a week.
Okay.
So
Okay. Okay.
they taste like chicken. I tried it once to see what it was like, and yeah, and especially in these days now with all that's going on around the place, you're looking at food security and all that sort of thing. I think that would be a, a, a
Yes.
a good thrust and a good opportunity. We've got some land here that can be uh, acquired, developed, and create another cash crop basis that would help feed the entire region. The other thing too is like the way how we have the masses and all that is interregional trade. Like there's some products that you get in Trinidad that we don't get here, and you might go to St. Vincent, you see products there that we don't get here. So if you got like some regional entities like the way how Mass operates, move products around the Caribbean. That's what I also did with another group with which I'm affiliated over on Telegram, um, so that we get that cross fertilization of products and services going throughout the region. I
Yes.
would tell
Excellent.
you, apart from just looking at products, services, uh, is something too that you need to look at exporting. It does not take a whole lot of space in terms of developing it. It can have a long selling cycle, though. I remember uh, prior to going into the British Virgin Islands, it took me 5 years of correspondence before I finally got the deal. But then once I went
Okay.
down there, I was there like every 6 weeks. I was down there, providing training for their staff, for their people within the industry, for their sectors. I would go down and I'll train anywhere between 300 to 600 taxi drivers within a week.
Okay. Okay.
So I would do morning and evening
Tremendous.
sessions and then come back.
Yeah.
So
Just to add as well, Roll, and foods, food products. I think that's a very, very, very good suggestion, as Richie B says. You
mhm,
also have opportunities in like light, I would say light manufacturing products,
Mm-hmm.
light machinery, right?
Yes.
You also
Yes.
have opportunities in plastics and paper, I should say sustainable plastics, because Barbados as well had moved towards the phasing out of the single-use plastics. So we're talking about
Oh.
the straws and forks and the paper cups and that type of thing. There's a lot of opportunity there, and paper. And that paper, that whole discussion of paper is a very broad range, of
Yes.
opportunities there with us concerned. And
Wow.
then there's also opportunities for pharmaceuticals.
Well, gentlemen, I mean, there's so much you've put out there, and I'm sure listeners would be really amazed at all these opportunities. There's so much shining right now and glowing in Barbados in terms of being able to capture, and that's not only your prime ministers being recognized as among the top 100 most influential persons by Time Magazine.
Yeah.
So even apart from that, there's a lot that's shining in Barbados. But before we wrap up, we probably have just about 3 or 4 minutes to get some closing remarks, right? So we've heard of all these opportunities. We see what your prime minister is doing. She's on the forefront. She's really avant-garde, in terms of the things that she's willing to try. Barbados is looking at very new opportunities. But I'm a business person and I'm listening to the program and I want to take advantage of this. What would be some of the pointers, maybe just 3 steps as we kind of round off, that you would say to persons that they need to be cognizant of in terms of being able to capture these opportunities in Barbados? Is it that maybe they need to come in and do a joint venture? Maybe they need to be aware of how you actually register business. Is it easy to do business? What kind of pointers would you give to them in terms of how can we come to Barbados and capture these opportunities?
it's a combination of things that they need to do. And one of the things from an advantageous standpoint, we're using like LinkedIn, Facebook, and they're using a lot of Instagram now for business. Those sorts of platforms will be able to help you to forge linkages with people that you can then do strategic alliances and strategic partnerships with to come on into the island. And then you have a plethora of professionals, not just like myself, but people within the banking sector, the attorneys, all that sort of thing. Uh, they're going on, the accountants, what have you, so that it's no longer a case of one person standing alone. As I heard it put once, there's no I in team. So we have to you have teams of professionals that can come together and help you. You have HR professionals that are available. It's just a case, and a good excellent thing that you should add into your repertoire of entities is the Barbados Coalition of Industries, so that you can find people within the particular fields who can help you as you're coming on in to set up your entities here.
No doubt, uh, institutions like Blades and Blades Consultancy would be certainly among those that they can check, no doubt.
Yes, and we are also available online.
Yes,
But
yes.
I might be a musician, but you're the conductor, so I let you tell me when to come in.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So maybe you could share a little bit just before I turn over to Richard to give his closing remarks. How can Blades and Blades be of assistance in this regard?
Um, since we have limited time, I'm gonna put it in a snippet so that you can understand. We help people and organizations make money and keep it. And once you and that's all encompassing for all the aspects. You get full exposure to our network, so that then it's not just me that you're coming to, or just people within our organization, but people with whom we also network to, that we put you in contact with, so that you can gain traction quickly within the marketplace. We are
Okay, great.
available on the internet, and all our social media links are on our website as well.
And thank you very much, Richie B, Richard Rollocks, Richie R. Your closing comments as we wrap up this evening.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's always a wonderful, wonderful being here. Having this kind of conversation, this kind of discussion, and I think I learned a lot even listening to Richie B. What I will say, I mean, he's right. I know he was saying it, but I will endorse him as well. I will also endorse programs like this,
Yes.
conducted by reputable companies like us, Swage. We need, as Caribbean people, to have more conversation, more
Yes.
dialogue, right? And if you're looking to come to Barbados, you know, um, you know, there are people there that you can find, like Richie B, like Mr. Rawle Rollocks, rather than putting your is some people put their trust in people that don't see, never know, and they end up in a lot of problems, and we see it on a daily basis, right? Sometimes they get involved in these get rich quick schemes because they think there's a shortcut to, to, to success and wealth, and don't understand it's about being diligent, it's about being purposeful, it's about being disciplined. They don't understand these things. So
Mhm.
programs like these help, I guess, shatter that glass ceiling and point them in the right direction, so they can make more informed decisions. There's a lot of opportunities, as I was saying, in Barbados. And one of the things we hadn't really touched on as well is, we had opened the doors to, we would say, remote work, right?
Yes.
Welcome stamp, and that has created a lot of opportunities, not only for like the Airbnb rental, but it also created a lot of opportunities for ancillary services. That on a remote model. But to know about it, you have to be plugged in. You have to be on these types of programs and
Yes.
sessions and plugged in with the right people.
So, gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Richard, Blades, and Richard Lux, for being with us. Thank you so much for your comments, for your words of wisdom and your advice. And of course, our producer, Launchpad Media. Coming up, at Caribbean Business Podcast, there's so much more. We have more country features coming up. We have to talk about financing your export plan, how to build regional networks. So, certainly check us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Please like and share. To contribute to our discussion, you can also reach out to us via email at assuagebdc@gmail.com. Check out our website, of course, at www.assuagebusinessdevelopment.com as well. So, until next time, think regional and act global. Thank you.